In today's art lesson, we're going to continue thinking about what a world without war would look like. In this lesson, we're particularly focusing on printing to create a composition. To be able to do this, we need to create a stencil. We're going to need to understand the difference between positive and negative prints. We're going to create a print using the screen printing technique, or similar, using resources available. And we're going to create a print that conveys a message. Now, I've got to admit, when I planned this lesson, I thought we would be in school and therefore we'd be able to do screen printing. But unfortunately, we're not. So we're going to use similar techniques to what you would do in screen printing, but we're going to make sure that you can do it at home with what you have there. The first thing we need to do is understand what screen printing is. And it's a way of producing a print that is identical every single time. It uses a screen, this thing called a squeegee, paint or ink, and a stencil. Now, what I'd like you to do is pause this video here, go back to Microsoft Teams and click on the link that says Video Clip 1 so that you can watch a video of 2 experts using screen printing in their business. Pause the video now. Hopefully that video gave you more of an idea of how screen printing actually works. Now, screen printing can use positive stencils or negative stencils or a mixture of both, and we need to know what these are. A negative stencil is where you cut out an image and the background gets printed, i.e., your stencil will leave a blank space where the image is. So a negative stencil only prints the background. A positive stencil is where you cut out an image, but the image gets printed, i.e. your stencil blocks out the background so the image gets printed. So a positive stencil only prints your image and the background is left blank. On the screen, you should see some silhouettes, and the reason I've put these here is to try and show you a positive and a negative stencil. So the one on the left is a positive stencil. Here, the black ink prints the star and the stencil blocks out the background, leaving it blank. So when you run the ink or paint across it, the only thing that will get printed is the image because that's the part that is being cut out and left. On the right is a negative stencil. And here, the black ink prints the background and the stencil blocks out the star, leaving it blank. So the stencil would be stuck on the page, the stencil of the star would be stuck on the page, and then the ink would run over it and just fill in the background. To help you understand how stencils work a little bit better, I've found a video clip, and this is called Video Clip 2 on Microsoft Teams. What I'd like you to do is go and watch that video clip and see how someone creates and uses a negative stencil. So you're going to need to pause the video now and go and watch that other clip for me. Hopefully by now you have a better understanding of how screen printing actually works and the idea of a positive and a negative screen print stencil. In today's lesson, you are going to create a stencil for a part of your poster that you designed last week. You're going to need to choose whether you're going to use a positive or a negative stencil. And to do this, you are going to need paper, a pencil to draw the outline of your image, and scissors. If you want, you could try and make a stencil for your text as well. So if I was doing this activity, I would be making a stencil of that aeroplane that I drew in the last lesson. What you're going to need to do is draw your stencil onto a piece of paper. If you're creating a positive stencil, you're going to need to cut out your shape and keep the background. So you can then throw away the shape, that doesn't need to be kept. You just need the background. So you're going to need to cut this really carefully so you have a crisp line. If you are creating a negative stencil, you will need to cut out your shape and just keep the shape. So you can cut around the outline of your shape and then throw away the bit of paper that you cut it from. Now, for some of you, you may remember having done this before because I know quite a few of you made stencils like this when we were doing our moth composition last term. Now, the thing that I kept on stressing to those in my class in 6B was that you need to cut things out really carefully when you're making stencils. So make sure that you cut exactly on the line and take as long as you need to so it is as neat as possible. And that's all you're going to do in today's lesson. So today's lesson, you are drawing out your stencil on a piece of paper and then you need to cut it out. Now, if you go wrong, you can always create more stencils. You don't need to just do the one. And I'm aware that this may be a very quick and easy task, so do feel free to make as many stencils as you like, and then you can see how we build up layers when we screen print. So that is your task for today. I would like you to keep on watching this video though, so that you know what you are expected to do on Thursday in Thursday's lesson. So on Thursday, once you've completed your English and your maths work on Microsoft Teams, you are going to use your stencil to make a print. And if we were in school, we would be using screen prints. So we're having to be a little inventive with the things that you have at home to still be able to use the same process and create an amazing effect. What you will need for Thursday's lesson is paper, then either paint, colouring pencils, pens, chalk, crayons, or even a wet tea bag, whatever you have at home. And this is going to be your paint or your ink. Now, I'm aware some of you might not have paint, and that's why I've listed a variety of things that you could use to create your print. Also, if you happen to have it, you will need some blue tack or some masking tape. But you'll see in the instructions on the next slide, it's not necessary to have this. It just makes it a little easier. I just want to stress now, do not worry if the resources you have at home do not match with your design. So if the only thing that you have to print is a wet tea bag, please do not worry that your print is going to come out brown rather than blue or purple, whatever you designed your print to be. So, just to clarify, in Thursday's lesson, you are going to be printing your propaganda poster that you designed a few days ago. So during the lesson, you will need to decide whether you are using your positive stencil or your negative stencil. And I'm going to go through the instructions for how to use a positive stencil first. Now, the reason I've made this as a video is so that you can watch it again on Thursday and follow the instructions as you are doing it. So, to use a positive stencil to print, the first thing that you're going to need to do is stick your background that you cut out onto another piece of paper using blue tack or tape. Now, if you don't have this, just hold your stencil down carefully. Then you're going to need to use paint or pencils or crayons or chalk or a tea bag to fill in the gap where your shape got cut out. So you're basically going to colour in the gap where your shape was. The final thing you need to do is to lift up your stencil, lift up your background, and this should leave you with a print of where the gap was, where your shape was. If you are creating or have created a negative stencil, the first thing that you're going to need to do is stick your cut out shape onto another piece of paper using blue tack or tape. And as I mentioned before, if you don't have these, just hold it down carefully. You're then going to need to use your paint or pencils or crayon or chalk or a tea bag to fill in the gap where your background cut out. So you're going to need to go around your shape and colour in the background with whatever resources you have. Once you've done that, you can lift up your stencil of your shape and you should have a print where your shape is blank and your background is coloured in with whatever you've used to colour it in with. Right, that's the end of the lesson. So, recap. Today, you are making your stencil. You're going to draw it on a piece of paper and cut it out. And then on Thursday, you are using your stencil to print your propaganda poster. Now, if you've only made a stencil for an image on your poster, you're also going to need to add the text that you designed before to it. So you might want to use pencils or colouring pens to do this. One thing that both of your teachers is really going to be looking out for is use of creativity and perseverance in this work. So I really want you to see you trying your best and putting in as much effort as you possibly can to create beautiful pieces of art. So once you've created your piece of art, your propaganda poster, I would like you to take a picture of this and then submit it and hand it on Teams. So the only thing that you need to submit is a photograph of your propaganda poster once you've completed it. So I'm going to leave this here. The video is now coming to an end. I would like you to go and get on with creating your stencil now, ready for printing on Thursday. I really hope that you enjoy creating your own propaganda poster, and I cannot wait to see what beautiful artwork you create and submit on Thursday. Good luck with this, and I'll see you soon. Bye.